On this date, 30 years ago, just up the street at the Hilton on Connecticut, a disturbed young man who shouldn't have been allowed to buy a gun brought that gun to Washington, D.C. He tried to assassinate the president, and he seriously injured President Reagan's press secretary, Jim Brady. Jim was 40 years old at the time. He had been the press secretary, his life stream, for just 69 days. And since that day, 30 years ago, he's been in a wheelchair. But what he'll be talking about today is that he's not letting that wheelchair define him. He's making a difference with gun violence. With that, 30 years after the shooting, Jim and Sarah Brady.
30 years ago. 30 years ago right now, it's 12:30. Jim was at the Hilton with President Reagan. And I was picking up our little son, 2 years old, from a little church school nearby, and came home to let Scott play, have lunch and play. And I have to admit, I turned on my soap opera and was ready to watch the afternoon stories, as we in the business know them. And lo and behold, it's announced. And that moment, I can only tell you, totally changed our lives forever in so many different ways. Jim was even pronounced dead. Luckily, I didn't hear that. I was at the hospital and knew Jim better than that. It's been a long, hard battle, hardest on this one right here, but he's done so beautifully, and we've learned to adjust to our lives. I want to urge everybody to get involved, to let your members of Congress know that they need to be courageous, they need to step up to the plate, they need to do the right thing, and that is to support these common sense bills. Large capacity magazines, there's absolutely no reason for them. Most members of Congress today, and I think, will vote with this. They don't want to have to, because they don't want to make the NRA mad. But they are for this piece of legislation. Who couldn't be? How could you look yourself in the mirror and say, I believe in large capacity magazines, for God's sake? I think I'm going to let my wonderful husband now say a word or two. He knows what to say.
Well, I'm glad for your confidence, because I do not. I know I would not be sitting here in this damn wheelchair if we had common sense legislation. I used to be a track runner, no more. But I'm not going to run away from this.